You are Locked On Ole Miss, your daily podcast on the Ole Miss Rebels. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks again for making the Locked On Ole Miss podcast your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcast, including YouTube. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. Hello, I'm Stephen Willis with the Locked On Ole Miss podcast. He's Daylan Flowers. He's the Oxford Ole Miss student expert. Comes on the show. He has his own podcast, the Daylan Show. Check that out as well. Daylan, the reason we are recording this on Sunday, is tomorrow during our normal time, I will be on the road heading to the Tigers versus Tampa Bay Rays game. So that's the reason we had to move this up today.
I love that. Your Tigers are progressing a lot this year. I wish I could say the same for my St. Louis Cardinals because we're struggling right now on all ends, but I'm happy for you, man. I still hope to get to St. Louis sometime this year myself and just kind of be in that atmosphere, but I'm happy for you, man. I love baseball, and my love for it has grown a lot in the last couple of years, so kind of being a part of it now and seeing you kind of be a part of it as well, it makes me real happy, man.
Yeah, and before we move over, we're going to talk about football now. Mike Bianco got his 1,000th career win, got 900th win at Ole Miss. Ole Miss lost the series. I joked on today's podcast that those are two outcomes from the weekend that not a single Ole Miss fan is surprised by.
Yeah, it was a difficult one, and I watched the series this weekend, and I don't know if I was really even expecting to go into Georgia coming out with a series winner. I mean, Georgia's played fantastic at home this year. I think they were like 22-2 before the series started at home this year. So Georgia put up a really good record at home this year and shown all aspects that they can compete with almost anybody in the country. But what surprises me about what we saw against Georgia is just a week ago against State, a lot of people weren't expecting, even us ourselves kind of weren't expecting us to do much. But we put up a fight, and we put up a lot of grit and effort and attitude, and you could say that was accustomed to a lot of different things, maybe a big part of, Mike Bianco going out there and getting tossed, whatever that is. But we go against Georgia, and I don't really see that except for the last game that we win. And, now it's come out that Austin Simmons has come out and basically said, I'm this bad man, and I'm okay to go out there and play baseball. And I don't know if we can really say we agree with it or not, but Coach Bianco put him out there, and Austin Simmons did his thing, man. We ended up coming out with a much-needed final win that was really good instead of getting swept, even though we still lost the series. But it was good to kind of see that and see a young kid like Austin Simmons with not much experience at all before this season in the college world to just kind of go out there and say that I can handle this, and he did a really good job. And I'm so proud of the kid for being able to really just even attain that kind of effort, but going out there and actually producing it. And it was win because now we have the opportunity to, I hope, to just build momentum off that and see that if our young freshman stud can go out there and have a lot of charisma and character, then the other guys will build around that. Because right now it's do or die. And that is in terms of if we want to have any taste at all of the postseason, which is highly unlikely, but it's not impossible. So it was a rough weekend, but I saw things that we're progressive, but things like our defense needs to be worked on a lot. I think we had like 7 errors throughout the series. It was a lot of negatives, but I tried to stay positive in times like this. So that's why I kind of talked about Austin Simmons. But it was a weird weekend. Hopefully we can bounce back.
Yeah, if Ole Miss would have just given Charlie Condon the Barry Bonds treatment and not pitched him, Ole Miss probably wins the series.
Yeah, and that's another thing that I just, even before the season started, I was questionable from last year based off where our pitching staff was and just where our situational game plan for Mike Bianco was a lot of the times, because there was a lot of games last year that you go back and look at the scores and you'd be like, this wasn't a close game. But if you actually watch the game, we were into those games in the 6th, 7th, 8th inning. But in the midst of those innings, we had a lot of situational errors from our manager. And that's where Mike Bianco, that's where things come into play where you kind of question if the players aren't being accustomed to what their coaches is, how can we have faith and belief in our team right now? There are a lot of times that I see this with our team, and that's not just this year, like I said, last year as well, that I am just in a big question of array of why are we pitching to this guy? Why are we allowing this certain guy to get so far off the bag? And we know he's going to steal, but we don't throw it back to first base to try to get him out. I don't understand it at all. And I think maybe that will come with player experience, but also that is a big reliability on our coaching staff who's been through the trenches and the wars for a very long time, and you would think would understand those type of capabilities that we have to seize those opportunities, but we haven't seen that, especially recently here. So that's a big question mark, and I honestly don't know how to go about things like that because this is just my opinion and my thoughts, but like, where can you go as a team when you see things on the field, but maybe you don't want to go and attack them if your coaches aren't saying them, and you kind of have to do as told as well. So I don't know. I can only hope that we continue to progress in the right way. Right now, I know a lot of fans and media are kind of calling for hopefully this being Bianco's last year. I'm not going to voice too much of my opinions on that right now, but I think
Bianco's not going anywhere.
and that's my opinion, and that's why I don't really want to talk about it because I know it's not a fan favorite thing right now. But I hope he can continue to just progress game by game, and that will allow a little bit just more comfort throughout the rest of the season and going forward. Because, like you just said, I honestly know unless there's some really drastic ending to the season, there's not going to be a change, and so we just have to continue developing what we have right now.
To change the subject onto something a little bit more happy, Ole Miss got a commitment on Friday from Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, the running back out of New Mexico. He had 189 carries, 1,190 yards, 17 touchdowns, a lot of touchdowns. He's a good little running back, 5'11", 205 pounds. He's a guy that kind of, if you were on the Discord server, you heard about him last week, but everybody assumed that Henry Parrish was going to be the first Rebel to jump into the boat in the transfer portal. No, it was Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt.
Yeah, and I kind of, like I said, the Discord server, he caught my eye just a little bit the week before, but before then I really had not a lot of knowledge about the kid, but those numbers right there kind of speak a lot in themselves. And I think if you're a numbers guy, those are kind of big numbers that pop out at you. But if you go watch some game tape about this kid, even just his time in New Mexico this year, and his time at Alabama State, which is where he was before New Mexico, kid is a baller. I mean, he's very elusive, really quick, read the gaps really well. I think he kind of dropped off a little bit in his reception numbers in New Mexico, but he was a really good receiver at Alabama State, and I think that could be a really good element for our offense if we've seen over the last few years, especially with Jackson Dart at the helm. Charlie Wise and Lane Kiffin love to play receiving football with our running backs, and I think that could be a really great element for our offense to just give us another option on the field, to give us a little bit more comfort on the field, because when you got a receiving core like we have this upcoming year, and you have another running back out there that can now produce some very good numbers as well, that's a very dangerous offense. And that also opens up a lot of things that I'd like to say for Jackson Dart. I don't know if a lot of people remember this from this past year, but he likes to scramble a lot. And when you get a receiving core, like I said, and you get a running back that can receive a lot, Jackson Dart is going to probably take some of those opportunities to scramble up the field as well. And so see things like this. And also I'll say as well, don't think that this commitment also means that Henry Parrish may not come to Ole Miss. I don't think we're done. And that cannot just be said for the running back position. That can be said for other positions, but I don't think we're done by any means right now. But I think this is a really good pickup. I am very big fan of this kid. And like I said, go watch some highlights on him on YouTube, man. Just his game tape. It's just really fun to watch, an exciting player, an explosive running back as well. And I think he just brings a good element to help us out right now. I know we're still kind of looking for a true identity there with the guys that we already have, and hopefully that they will be able to get some reps like what they did throughout the spring. Hopefully get some reps in those early games this year. But I think this is a really good pickup for us right now because it gives us some continued momentum. The switch that we had in the portal in the first element of the portal, and now we continue to see the same rise of where we're at going right now.
Thanks again for making the Locked On Ole Miss podcast your first listen every day. When we come back, we will talk about another running back that is visiting campus today. Stick around. When you're hiring for your small business, you want to find quality professionals that are right for the role. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs has the tool to help you find the right professionals for your team faster and for free. LinkedIn just isn't another job board. LinkedIn helps you hire professionals you can't hire find anywhere else. Even those who aren't actively searching for a new job, who might be open for the perfect role. In a given month, over 70% of LinkedIn users don't visit other leading job sites. So if you're not looking on LinkedIn, you're doing it wrong. LinkedIn has 86% of small businesses getting qualified candidates for their job within 24 hours. Hire professionals like a professional at LinkedIn. LinkedIn knows that small businesses are wearing so many hats, they may not have the time or the resources to make the hire. It's no different than hiring a college football coach. If you hire the right guy, he will have you in the conversation for the playoff. If you hire the wrong guy, though, you're going to be doing this again in 3 weeks. The difference is, in the real world, in the job force, you might be doing this again in 3 weeks. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. That's linkedin.com/lockedoncollege to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. It's playoff time in the NBA and NHL. Baseball's in full swing, and FanDuel is your place to bet on every game. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed. That's $150 win or lose. Bet on everything from slap shots to home runs to slam dunks, all on an app that is safe, secure, and easy to use. What are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and make your first bet an automatic win. FanDuel, it's America's #1 sportsbook. Are you watching Fox News or ESPN on your TV all day and you have to turn down the volume with all of that shouting? Make the switch to Locked On Sports today, a free 24/7 streaming channel programmed for you each and every single day to bring you the biggest stories without all that screaming and shouting. Locked On Sports Today brings can't-miss analysis, opinions, and news, streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. Daylan, all right. This is pretty cool because you were just talking about how Ole Miss wasn't done. Well, Ole Miss isn't done today. Trent Howland from Indiana was on a visit. This is a guy that's 6'3", 240 pounds. He was Indiana's leading rusher. He is a thumper. I said that Ole Miss is looking for people to fill roles, not holes, in this playoff run team. And Trent Howland, being a thumper, is somebody that exactly fits that bill.
That is the perfect description for Trent Howland, a thumper, and as well as you said, looking for guys to fill roles and not holes. This is exactly what Trent Howland is. Kind of a raw player that had played in Indiana for a couple years and wasn't necessarily a starter, but produced as much as he could when he was on the field. And like you said as well, 6'3", 240. That is absolutely a monster among men, especially at the running back position. Kid can move really well for his size. And I like to say, and I've said before, that he's really good at just driving his legs and having a knack for getting that first down and getting into the end zone as well. I think this kid, like you said, is an ability to figure out different game type scenarios for our offense that maybe guys like Ulysses Bentley or even Ja'Cory Cross-Merritt can't fill out when their game plans or their game types don't fit what Trent Howland does. And I really love this because when you get guys at running back position or the quarterback or even wide receivers, you like the variety of guys that can do a lot of different things well. So maybe other guys can also learn off them and they can learn from off other players as well. But this guy brings a different element that we really don't have in the running back room right now. And I think he also brings a different element from the guys that we've also heard rumors or interest about, the guys that have been at Oxford as well. And that's just a dog mentality. And I think as well, that brings a very hard time for opposing teams to study film because we've seen a lot in the last couple of years with Charlie Wise. We will rotate players a lot, either side of the ball. That's with Pete Golden as well. But our running backs would do that a lot. And I think that is a very good position for us to kind of build a lot of momentum in because Trent Howland is a guy that is SEC built, I would say. You know, when you get a guy that can be that size, have that certain mentality, have that certain demeanor, they really can boost a lot of your team. And when you get a guy like that, it brings a bit of comfort as a fan, honestly, because you know you have a guy that can get you out of situations that maybe you'd be uncomfortable in with any other guy in the running back room.
Yeah, and another thing is none of the commitments that Ole Miss are going to sign in this year's class, none of them are going to be a threat for a Kylan Deer, because at the end of the day, a Kylan Deer is kind of the prize right now. So
Yeah.
Lane Kiffin does have to be careful in filling these roles.
Yeah, and I think that's another good point that, Kyle Lander is going to come in, and I kind of will say he will get the role that kind of Quinshon Judson's got his first year, or just kind of be given the keys, but also expect him to have a 2 and 3 made as well, but continue to plan for the future. And that's a great point that you made. I myself, and I think a lot of fans as well, we're so focused on this year, which for proper reason we are, but also don't forget about the future. We've had a lot of great commitments over the last 2 weeks, a lot of 4 and 3-star guys that have a lot of great potential right now. And so Lane is also doing a lot of work for this high school recruiting class for the upcoming season as well.
You know, Chris Beard is doing work himself. He got 4 commitments over the course of the week. And over the weekend, he had a player in for a visit. It was Sean Padula from Virginia Tech. He's an Oklahoma commitment, but he's also on Thursday going to visit Alabama. Look at those 4.6 assists. He scores the ball pretty well. He, of course, rebounds. He defends, because Chris Beard isn't going to bring anybody in that won't do that.
Yeah.
I think this is the person that is a candidate, if Ole Miss can land him, to be a Dalton Connect type player that just kind of comes in out of nowhere, and all of a sudden he's the dude on an otherwise pretty good team.
You're killing it with these references today. I really love Sean Padula. I think he, in my opinion, is a 3-level scorer. I know his 3-point shot kind of dropped off a little bit this year, but I still think he has the ability at any given time in the game to kind of score at any point on any level. And his guy was really confident in his ability on offensive end this year at Virginia Tech. And I think he truly grew into his ability to rise up and make shots, his ability to make shots at the free throw line, his ability to finish shots around the rim as well. And I think this is another chance for Chris Beard to say, okay, I've gotten the idea of where I want my big man at and how I want my big man to look in the transfer portal. Now let me kind of fluctuate with this guard and see what I could do. Can I get a scorer? Can I get a facilitator? Can I get a guy that can control the offense and the defense on the transition? And Sean Padula really is a guy that you kind of just mentioned with Dalton Connect at Tennessee. He kind of came out of nowhere and just became their go-to guy for Tennessee. And I think Sean Padula can do that for us as well if we are to get the chance to land him. And I've said this maybe a few weeks ago as well. I'm really confident, especially now with Chris Beard. If you get guys to Oxford, I feel like we have a good chance to keep him there. And we've done a really good job with that with our last few transfer portal commits, so I wouldn't be surprised with this. I know Sean is from Oklahoma originally, but he's obviously still visiting schools for a reason right now, so I know his mind isn't made up. So let's hope that Chris Beard can continue to keep knocking down the doors with what we need to have a successful and hopefully a postseason run this upcoming year for our basketball team, because that is the goal. Now, I think we saw the obvious progression from, the year before Chris Beard was here, but now I think obviously that goal will be to at least get into the postseason and hopefully get a win or two.
Thanks again for making the Locked On Ole Miss podcast your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcast, including YouTube. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. Daylan Flowers joining the show every week like he always does. Daylan, thank you so much for being flexible and allowing me to go see the game, I guess, tonight. So thank you, man.
Of course, man. And make sure you guys are checking out the Daylan Show, man. I got my man Caden Davis on the show this week. Been trying to get Caden on for a while, but I had to wait. I know they had during spring practice, so I was waiting after the spring practice. Now that's completed, so I'll get Caden on this weekend, see what's going on behind closed doors with the squad, and kind of share his upbringing. So check that out this week. It'll be a fun one.
Outstanding. You have a good one, bud.
Appreciate it, man. You too. Hotty toddy, y'all.